Hey Virgo, welcome to your February reading. I'm just gonna jump right in. As I shuffle, I'm gonna have to put my mic down because I have to hold it up here so that you can hear me properly. So bear with me while I shuffle and we'll begin. Right. Let's see. If you can hear me, we are using the Lucy Cavendish Shapeshifter cards. They're one of my favorites. As the main deck for this read. I'm just kind of making it. I haven't really been feeling like recording this month. I feel a bit procrastination-y-ish. That's totally a word. So I decided to make it a bit more simple after trying to record for a few days and just not really feeling it. We're taking it down a step and making it simple. These are one of my favorite cards, one of my favorite decks. Okay, beginning for you, Virgo. So we have Elizabeth and the Lion. It's time to become a great leader. Now, this is the kind of vibe that we're having for Earth signs at the moment, and it's about really becoming the leader in your own life. It's starting to kind of set things in place, which really resonates with who you are on a level that really complements everything that you've been through and where you're leading and where you're heading. I say this because Elizabeth and the Lion, I kind of see this card as representing both kind of the Empress and then also the Strength card in Tarot, because I feel like it's coming into our own, ensuring that we're doing everything in alignment with us, but respecting all that we have been through that's got us this far. And it's kind of realizing that the tools that we have with us come from our strength, and I feel as though sometimes the strengths, our true strengths, are what we perceive as weaknesses. For example, our vulnerability. So being our authentic self can sometimes mean being very vulnerable with ourselves, with our loved ones, and really opening up in order to in a way, it's kind of like the law of attraction, because it's by being vulnerable, by being openly visible, which I do feel as an earth sign. It's weird because as earth signs, we naturally have this way of inviting people in and making them feel warm and seen and comfortable. However, when it comes to ourselves and expressing real authentic vulnerability, something that we hide behind those walls. And it's really interesting because people really relate to earth signs on that kind of level of feeling like, you know, you're so open, you're so giving. And like I can say, like, as a Taurus, yes, I am so much. However, there's still this wall of vulnerability that I protect myself with. And that's that air of mystery that us earth signs kind of carry within. And it's because we're so kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like this layer of, we like to make our loved ones feel seen, but we want to be seen. However, it's like sometimes it means putting other people before ourselves. And I feel like that's naturally something we're inclined to do in our nurturing ways. However, we need to stop doing that. It's kind of the way society has built us up, I think. And this, to me, is saying it's now time to put yourself first. Use those leadership skills. And by leadership skills, I mean all of the tools that you have built in your life to kind of become this person who you are today. I really feel like this is... Oh, sorry, I just hit my mouth with the mic. Need to hold it better. To this, I forgot what I was saying. All the tools that we've got to this day are helping you to really understand yourself. Oh, that's what I was saying. Sorry, I got a little off track when I hit myself in the face. As I was saying that all of the kind of astrology and everything leading up to this point in this day and age is leading us to be our authentic self, to be able to live a much more free life than really any generation up until this point has. And it's kind of scary a little bit because we're still carrying with those generational traumas of that we still need to have those societal pressures of hiding an aspect of ourselves. But we're not. We're coming to this era where we don't need to, but it's that discomfort time. And we are the generations that are really doing the hard work for future generations. And you'll find that children and teenagers are really shining a lot brighter than even our generations. And I would say, like, my generation, the people who are now in their 30s, kind of started paving this way. They started being a little bit more comfortable with pushing those boundaries, but we still had that pressure of like our parents having to disown us and go through those uncomfy. And now we have parents who are us, who are now much more understanding and not doing that. And you know what I'm saying? It's leading down the lines. But so now, whatever age you may be at who's watching, you're in this era where you truly can at any age be who you want to be, and it's just getting through that discomfort. So we're in this stage now astrologically where we need to be facing our fears. If something scares us, but it's like and it's risky, really the astrology is saying go for it, take the lead, make the moves. And this is saying that you are exactly that type of person. You are exactly the person to do that in your life, and you're the only person that can do that for yourself. And we're all driven to this independence. And this to me is what this is saying for you, Virgo. It's get out there, push the limits, go past your boundaries, because these boundaries that you have in place, sorry, it is raining and thundering. These boundaries that you have in place, they're restrictions that you put for yourself. And I kind of think you need to think to yourself, this is the question that I want you to ask. If I cross those boundaries, what would happen? What's the worst that can happen? What is likely to happen? And what's the best that can happen? You'll probably find that the worst that can happen is not actually that bad, and you're like, I'm willing to risk that. But something within us internally sometimes can really see that and just put that boundary and block. And I want you to see that and see, can you push yourself past that? Can you try for yourself? Our next card is Wolves of Venice. Sorry, my son is here. He loves thunder, and he'll come in and keep, every time it thunders, no doubt he will come and go, oh my god, it's thundering, in his little baby talk. At Wolves of Venice, you are far, far away from home. This is kind of the vibe of what I was talking about, in this sense of feeling as though, like with fears, sometimes when we have to face fears, it can make us feel so far from home. Now, I do feel like for some of you, you actually live away from home. And I feel like there's this, it's just sort of channeling through me now. Like there's this kind of back and forth on feeling as though maybe you're too far from home now. And I feel like some of you have been far away from home for a long time. But maybe it's like this stage in your life. You're kind of craving the things that make you feel at home. Family, the familiarity of, you know, your home country, your hometown, whatever it may be. I feel as though you may be having these kind of thoughts. The reason we have these thoughts going through us at the moment, astrologically again, is because we have Uranus in Taurus. Uranus in Taurus. Sorry guys, I'm in this really weird mood. Like I've been procrastinating for the last half an hour. So you've got weird poos on here. And astrologically, we have Uranus and Taurus, which is leading us towards independence, but independently towards what's best for us. And that's different for everybody. Some people, it might actually be making choices really that's in alignment with what you want and desire, rather than just kind of based on, I've made this decision in the past, I'm just going to stick with it. You're going to have all things kind of questioned, and you're going to have these thoughts that are going to make you really question the life that you've been living so far, or that you're living now, to make changes that's going to really help you towards what makes you feel at home, feel with whatever your core values are. Taurus is all about core values. They're very much in alignment with what makes them feel good. I'm a Taurus. It's all about comfort, what makes you feel good, loved ones, nurturing sides of yourself that really does make you feel comfortable in your own skin. So having thoughts about returning home or finding a home, even moving away from home, these could be things that are really highlighted in your thought processes currently. To me, this is sort of feeling as though you're feeling a little bit lost. And I think this comes with that realizing that your vulnerabilities are your strengths. Feeling lost is a positive thing once we acknowledge that's what's happening, because it ignites change. It makes us make those changes, and this is all what's been driven through every single human on earth, and those of us that are more in tune with these thought processes and why they're happening can really accelerate our growth during this time. I get this sense of there are people with you currently. I feel as though even though you're far from home, you have touches of home with you, and this is I feel as though there's this kind of back and forth with you're not sure what's right to do. And perhaps a person feels like home. For some of you, Virgo, maybe this is relationship wise, and maybe you're a bit uncomfortable on commitment to be like, is this right for me? I do feel like saying, like, if this person feels like home, they're right for you, because there's a reason why you feel so at home for this. So what is the issue that's making you feel this way? And I do feel like these two cards are really interlocking together as I'm reading this. And I think that it's, again, those boundaries and restrictions you put on yourself. What is the worst that can happen if you take this risk, take this leap, make these commitments? What is the risk if you don't? This is how you can outweigh on what matters most to you. I do feel like it's a fear of taking off a mask and revealing yourself. Again, these vulnerabilities, this is what's holding you back. So that's an area for you to discover and work on yourself, on doing that. I want you to be gentle with yourself, but firm. I do feel like you need a little bit of tough love from yourself, because I feel a bit like complacency is in within this, as though you will choose being comfortable over getting a little bit of discomfort in order to make the right choices. That's essentially the best for your life, but also the best for the people that you care about in your life as well. And I do feel like you're worried about taking off this mask and what that will mean. But I want you to remember that if you're always wearing a mask within your relationships, what you have is not authentic, and it's coming from a place. Now, I touched on this with another sign. I watched a TikTok because sometimes I just get into those scrolling phases. I think we all do. When I come across one that really made sense to me in my past relationships, where it was saying that sometimes you make connections with someone and the chemistry is why you get together. So say you're coming from a wounded place, and what connects you both is that you are both dealing with trauma in the same way. So it's not mistaken for chemistry, it's chemistry. You're both in the same energetic level of dealing with this trauma. So for example, you're coming from a place of abandonment, and then you meet somebody who also has felt abandonment, and they understand like how they're dealing with their abandonment is how you're dealing and processing yours. So really it's these coping mechanisms that you both relate to, and you feel like, oh my god, this person really gets me, they understand me, and you feel the same way about them. But what you're really getting and understanding is their wounds, is their healing, is that kind of hurt. It's the fact that you both deal with it in the same way. So you get together and you have a relationship, and then after some time, like, you begin to heal, and then all of a sudden cracks in the relationship appear. But you've been through so much together, and you're remembering that time of, he was there through the hardest stuff, she was there for me through that. And then this then forms a relationship that becomes toxic, because neither of you really liked each other for who you were, and what you liked about each other was what you were able to understand and provide for each other in that time. So taking off the mask and healing and really being your true self, you're no longer on the same energetic level as you were before. I feel like I'm explaining this in a really different way, so it might make sense to you, Virgo, considering it's your reading. But what I'm saying is, like, make sure that your relationships from this point forward are not coming from this wounded space of trauma and understanding, that they're actually coming from, I really enjoy this person and they really enjoy me. And this starts for you being who you actually are and showing them everything, showing them not only the wounds and that connection. Because sometimes I feel like when we start dating, we sometimes will go into this dating phase of being like, oh, I've been through this. Like, for example, I think men are very good at this, and so if you are male, this may make sense to you. Where, you start meeting people and you start talking about, oh, everyone I've been through has like hurt me, I'm coming from this really hurt space. And then she's like, or he's like, depending on what you're attracted to, yeah, I've been through that too, it sucks. And instantly you've made this connection. But you're not connecting with each other on a genuine level. You're connecting with each other on trauma. And this is what I'm saying here. I feel like we need to be wary of what we're sharing with people is everything, and not just our wounds, not just the negative things in our past. You don't want to connect with people just because you've both been through shit. That's not not who you are. That's not who they are. That's the experiences you've both lived through. And I do think there's a difference, and differentiating that is really going to make a difference in the longevity of our relationships and the authenticity of them as well. But it is good to connect with people and good to be able to speak to people, and it's great to have those connections, but we don't have to immediately jump into love with those type of people just because we're connecting. Make sure it is authentic before going forward. I do get the sense, Virgo, that actually naturally you're not just rushing into anything, and actually I feel as though you are the one that has to get past that boundary of actually letting somebody in this reading during February. Now, the fact that we're talking about love, I do want to pinpoint that we are in February, and this is, you know, the month ruled by Venus. This is Valentine's. So it makes sense that things that will come up for us are things around relationships and love and how we deal with that. Now, this can be, again, just our everyday relationships as well. If you're not interested romantically, or if you're not going through anything romantically, it can be all of our relationships, because that is love. We get love from any connection that we have, and love looks different to everybody. Our next card is the Mermaid and the Turtle Woman. An elder will teach you. So I do feel like there's wise people around you. Actually, I don't feel like necessarily this will be someone older. I just feel as though it might be somebody who seems like an old soul, someone who speaks wise words that really resonate with you. This could be someone romantically connected as well. However, I feel as though it could be a connection like through a friend, or even like a relative's loved one or a relative's friend. I feel like they might talk words that make you realize things about yourself, and I feel like this is where you're beginning, because I get this sense that you're dipping your toes into a healing process here, and it is healing in terms of relationships and connections, and really I feel like the focus is on this for you. It's weird because I get this sense of some people not being able to understand, or you worrying that some people might not. It's that there's two sides to this. So either somebody is like, there may be parents or people who would be worried about you in this way, or you're worried that they would be. This, I feel, is a dynamic. I'm not sure what that means, but hopefully it can connect with you. This could even be parents. If you're in relationships, this could be like worries about meeting parents on both sides, or introducing, or even getting to that next. And again, it's a level of commitment. I do feel like this is something to do with commitment here, that is an issue for you. Or if you are already in relationships, this could even be dynamics to do with parents or grandparents, just something to do with like relations that are a couple on both sides. It's kind of strange how that's channeling through. Hopefully it makes sense to you, Virgo. So I get feelings of concern, like all the way through this. I'm kind of getting from you anxiety, like concerns. I do feel like there's no true strength to these concerns, of more being internally you having these concerns. So take wise counsel, and again, listen to a wise woman. Like, I specifically just feel as though it is feminine in nature, but it does not mean gender as such, because I don't feel like there are gender to many cards. However, I do feel like this is feminine advice, so take that as you will. Yeah, definitely wisdom around. So little Olin, I love it when she comes up because she's adorable. Look at her. Wisdom as light as a feather. So again, I feel as though wisdom, like advice coming towards you, or somebody who's speaking words that you're just like, yeah, okay, I understand. It's coming from a place of love, like of general understanding, I feel like. And I also feel like you need to take the positives from it and take the lightness. So from that, what I mean by that is sometimes when someone gives us either constructive criticism or explains something to us or points something out is more specific. Like, I am somebody who, like, I'll tell the truth. So if someone comes to me for advice, I will generally tell them what is, rather than what they might want to hear. I touched on this with Capricorn, I think, in terms of advice. It was a little bit different, their reading, but this makes sense with this. So sometimes we'll go to friends, and sometimes we just want support, and sometimes we want advice. But sometimes friends will just give us one or the other. So there's certain friends where we'll go to them and be like, letting it all out, and they will turn around and just support you. Yeah, they're a dickhead. They are the worst. These people are supporting you. They might not even think that person's a dickhead, or they might, but the idea behind their advice is supporting you. So it's not necessarily authentically good advice. It's literally there to support you and help you, to cheer you up, and get you in this strength, bring that strength out of you kind of thing. Then there are friends who will give you general guidance and advice. I try and be more than that. I mean, I am really good at reading people, so I feel like if I know someone needs support, I'm going to support them. But I'm also going to be that little devil's advocate and be like, but is he really? Like, are you just taking on some of this, like, has he actually done those things, or are you projecting? It's a little bit like that. Like, I like to be a bit provocative with my thoughts and with my words to make people think and realize, like, I am overreacting, so I am taking on energy that's not mine. And, I feel like being more helpful like that as a friend. But that's just me on how I guide people. Some people aren't like that. And I feel like with this, it's realizing that anything that you might feel defensive with that someone's pointing out, they're meaning it in a good way. They're trying to say to you, I've noticed this about you. Maybe if you look at this, is that something you feel resonates with you? That's how to take it lightly, realizing that there's positives in words people say, and that actually most of the time when people say anything to us, they're not meaning to be mean. I mean, we know who's a dickhead and who's not, right? So I think that's something you need to realize. And with all your anxiety, this way of like all this beginning, being concerned, if someone comes in telling you something that you don't want to hear, you will be automatically a bit defensive because you're already in this feeling of vulnerability. So acknowledge that wisdom can come to you, and it might not be what you're ready to hear, but it might be something that you need to hear. Next we have the mermaid. We've got a lot of mermaids. The mermaid of immersion. Complete commitment. Come on, Virgo. You have to commit to something. So I do feel like you are ready for this. But again, I do get these concernments for you. Now, I do feel as though you're naturally more inclined to head towards more of the negative aspect of things. When you're weighing out pros and cons, I feel like you'll see the cons having more weight, even if they're equally balanced. I feel as though this is something really you need to work on. It feels like a lot of work within yourself in this journey. And it feels as though I'm telling you, like, oh, you got a lot of work to do. It's not like that at all. It's more of just realizing things within yourself and healing these wounds. I do think that if you are in partnerships or coming into this or meeting somebody, that this person is understanding, but they're in a space. And I'm going to use myself as an example of like now, like with each relationship, that's my next one. I come in a space of like, this is what I want. I mean, now I'm in my 30s, so I'm like, look, if you're not going to give me what I need, within reason, I'm pretty flexible, but if you're not going to just, tick those basic boxes, let's not waste each other's time and let's move on. I need someone who's going to commit to me. I need someone who's going to be authentic and honest, and say what is, because otherwise I'm going to get in my own head. I am somebody that overthinks, especially because I notice patterns and signs that if things don't feel right, it messes with my head. So I need someone to just be upright and honest with me. So if they're not going to do that, it's going to lead me to leave this relationship because it's not resonating with me. Now I feel like this is what this person coming in with you is like they're now at this point in their life where they're just like, let's not mess around. I like you. I want to be with you. But these are my terms. And now you need to realize, like, is this person really what you want? I do feel like actually the reading is telling me like, yes, it is. This is exactly what I want. However, you're still on this healing journey. Now, I do feel like this person will be understanding. And that's where you need to be open and honest with this person and just speak to them. It's like myself, even though I have these things, if someone was to come to me and just explain why they are the way they are, I would understand that and I would give them space. But you have to tell people things. People are not mind readers. They need to know where you're at to understand that. And you have to be vulnerable enough to allow them to be that person for you, or else you're keeping them behind a wall. this feels as though you need to commit. It's saying complete commitment. So find your thing. In terms of this complete commitment, I feel as though this can apply to anything and not just love. I'm getting this kind of niggle of it's a time for commitment. So I feel as though if you have goals, aspirations, this is the time to commit to them. I am getting kind of, she's giving, I don't normally get this with this card, but her eyes are sparkling. It gives me like tears, and it's not feeling sad tears. I feel like this is the tears of really wanting something. Like, you know, when you want something so bad that it's almost makes you upset that you don't have this in your life right now. And it can be even when people put like age limits on stuff, like I want to be married by the time I'm 25, and then you get to like 26 and you're still not married, and the person you're with or you're not with someone, you start getting sad about it because these are aspirations of yours. When you put timelines on them, it makes you sad. What I'm saying is this is giving me that vibe of this being something you generally want and desire. So much so that it's bringing you those tears of want and desire, of it being out of reach. It comes by commitment. Commit to what you want and make it happen. I do feel as though being very direct in what you want is going to help you. And this is in conversations, relationships, but also in terms of anything. Make sure that you are really, truly committing to taking those steps. Now, I do feel like, again, there are steps. But you already have everything you need in order to begin and to get there as well. And I actually feel as though you basically have it within your reach. It just comes with you making this commitment and deciding. Artemis of the Forest. Now you are independent and free. Definitely feel as though once you make this decision, once you commit, that you have this sense of freedom. And this is exactly what I was talking about, Uranus and Taurus, and the fact that it's it's like driving you towards choosing what feels authentic and what feels like independence to you. So sometimes some people's independence is literally committing to a person and being in a relationship with them and not worrying about what anyone else thinks. You're independently thinking for yourself and you're choosing love. Another way of independence is being single, choosing to be single and being able to decide everything you want in life. Everybody's level of independence is different, and this is all about you finding yours. And to me, I feel like by committing to this, that gets you to that. And I feel like it's literally as simple as making a decision. Really does quicken the pace to getting you there sooner. And this is what I mean by feeling like you already have it and it comes with a decision. You are supported by those around you, and you definitely have a loved one who wants this as much as you do. So in terms of relationship, that is a really good sign. And it comes by being vulnerable. She is naked in this, and that's given me this feel like by you open up, by being vulnerable, you are opening up the doors to greater things and better things for yourself, actually. Little Red Riding Hood. I am not a victim. This is what we're talking about. Your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities, and anybody bringing constructive criticism to you, like, don't play this victim. You're not a victim. None of us are, some people are victims, but none of us in general are victims by our circumstances, right? But we can make it about that. And I feel like this is sort of saying, get out of your head, stop wallowing in pity, and realize that all of this that makes you absolutely fabulous and amazing. And it's time for you to switch the way that you're thinking. So with that thought, be mindful of negative self-talk. Be mindful of taking on the energy of others, and realize that there are people in the world that do not want the best for us. And sometimes there are big bad wolves in our lives, and they showcasing as dads, mums, sisters, brothers, uncles, aunties, every other frigging person in our life that is toxic to us. These are not people who can really tell you who you are. Nobody can tell you who you are. Only you can tell you who you are. Because after all, every single person sees you as a different person than you truly are, because the only person that ever knows who you are is yourself. It's that saying where you are 100 different people, because it's true. energy works in different ways. And you'll notice that when you're with like your parents, when you're with your friends, when you're with your lovers, that you are showing them a different side of yourself. You are a different person with each of them. But you are all of those people. They're all an aspect of yourself, right? It's the way your energy works with their energy. And that's perfectly okay. However, so when they have opinions of you and they're trying to tell you, and I think in some cultures this is really hard for you if typically your parents are your voice in your head. A lot of Asian cultures have this kind of desire to ensure that they are the best person for their parents. They don't want to let their parents down, shame their families, that kind of thing, just simply by existing the way that feels authentic to them. And I'm getting that kind of vibe here of like the big bad wolf being that external cultural pressure, and realizing that you're not a victim. You can choose to live in the victim of being a victim of that cultural mindset, or you can just choose to be yourself and realize that pressure is not who you are, and you don't have to make it who you are. You can make it who you are and you can live that life. However, is that authentic with who you are really? Is that going to bring you towards this level of independence and freedom where you truly feel as though you are expressing yourself and how you feel on the inside, on the outside? And I just feel like there is this big bad wolf that's trying to influence who you are. Now, Little Red Riding Hood, she's freaking amazing. She doesn't care that there's this wolf. She's not giving in. And she acknowledges that when she goes into her grandmother's home, that you're not grandmother. You look different. And she knows that even though this person is trying to gaslight her into believing something, she doesn't fall for it, right? And this is exactly the message to that story, is don't allow society to gaslight you into being anything but that Little Red Riding Hood, that innocent person that you are, because we are all innocent in who we truly are on the core, right? Even people who are assholes have a Little Red Riding Hood. It's just not our story, not our problem, and we don't need them in our lives. Kick out the big bad wolves. Your last card is Snake Princess, the Serpentine Path to Power. This is it. By being you and being authentic and using your wisdom that you've gained. And this card represents, look at it. We have the snake. We have an apple. The snake, I'm going to go but just touch on, because whatever, into Chinese astrology, the year of the snake. So I am a snake, and the year of the snake, typically they represent people who are intuitive, who are wise, and they are very good spiritual leaders. Their career paths that are advised to them are psychologists, truth tellers, things like that. So that's, look at me. I'm a typical snake. So this represents wisdom. It represents divine messages as well. The apple, if we think on Christianity, this represents the apple that Eve takes that's full of wisdom. Now, these are things that we're told, you're not allowed that. You cannot be intelligent. You cannot know things that help you to better yourself, to help you to be the best version of yourself. This is saying, yes, you fucking do. You deserve it. It's every human's right. And that is how you truly live authentically. It's that knowledge is power. And I feel like you have a whole lot of knowledge in your life. You are a very intelligent person, Virgo. I can tell that with this. And it's saying for you to truly live up to your full potential, you need to sneak your way into being you. And I don't feel like you need to be anything more than you as well. I also feel like family is a massive thing for you. And I do feel like this family pressure has been with this whole reading. But I feel as though you're breaking generational curses by living your life. And this is the thing, like sometimes we have to be that bad apple in our family in order to pave the way for other family members. I do get this sense of you living by example in order to open up channels for other people, even within your own family or your own friendships. I don't know why that's coming to me. The tree in the background is just giving me family. And I get this sense of it kind of you being stronger so that they can be strong. And again, it's vulnerability. I'm definitely getting vulnerability here, Virgo. A lot of vulnerability throughout this whole reading. But I feel like you know. you know what you have to do and you know what you want to do. It's just overcoming them fears. That is your path to power. And I do feel as though there is somebody who can help you through this, and someone who's very wise that can speak words that push you further towards your independence. And it really does feel like a good person. But I feel like, again, you have defenses, and when defenses come up, when we're getting defensive, this is the universe's sign of saying there's something here that you don't want to face, but you have to. Okay, so keep that in mind. Thank you so much, Virgo. Very interesting reading. Love it. Kind of. So thank you for being here. Happy Valentine's Day. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me to keep up to date for any future readings. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good month.